mention two of the men most responsible for bringing this rivalry together in attendance today. I would ask UNCP's Chief of Staff, Dan Kenny, if you'd stand for a second, and Dr. Ed McLean, Athletic Director of Fayetteville State, if you would stand. Let's show them our appreciation for what they developed. Thank you, gentlemen. You know, I got to talk to Dr. McLean earlier this week. There's so much buzz about this game and what's been established now for 6 years on both campuses. For us, you know, I don't think that even a scattered storm forecast is going to put a damper on what we have in store for Saturday and the festivities. We've had a great offseason, a record season ticket sales year for UNC Pembroke. Brought online ticketing online thanks to Brian Russo's hard work this summer. That's at a great pace, and you know, a lot of good things. We have a jump team coming in, so the game ball will be jumped in with parachute. If you have not gotten your tickets yet, again, that online ticket portal is uncpbraves.com/tickets. And we will have standing room only tickets available on game day for $10. So tell your friends, and hopefully we'll get a big crowd out there. For today and for Saturday, good luck to our coaches and athletes. Appreciate everything that you guys do. And most importantly, I'd like to thank the media in attendance today. You know, you guys give this rivalry coverage, you guys make it go, and I think that the presence here and the breadth that we have in the Fayetteville and Robeson County markets, it shows the strength of both alumni bases and what they mean to this region. So thank you guys for what you do, and thank you for being here today. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Todd. We'll get our press conference portion of today's event underway. So thank you guys for being here.
Okay, to get this conference started, just wanted to give each head coach a chance to give an opening statement. We'll start with Coach Kershaw about what this rivalry has meant to both schools in the area, as well as anything else they might want to add.
Good afternoon, everyone. Obviously, this is a big rivalry. It's one of the first thing I heard about when I got on campus. It's funny that our athletic director, one of the first things he asked me was, well, what are you going to do to get the guys prepared for the Pembroke game? And I'm like, well, we got a game before that one. But obviously it's a big game between both schools, big for this area. And I'm just happy to be here and glad that we involved in it. I know it's a big game for both schools. Again, that's constantly all I hear about Fayetteville everywhere I go. What are we going to do against Pembroke? We haven't beaten them. Are we going to win this year? And again, I'm like, but we played a week before that. We got our first home game the following week, but that ain't what people want to talk about, which is great. That's what rivalries are about. And again, I know this is a big deal for both alumni bases, both schools, and we just hope to get the first win in the rivalry. That's about it for us.
Well, first of all, I'd like to make sure that I recognize my wife in the audience here today, Jenna Richardson. Want to thank everyone else for being here today. Want to just kind of, I guess, piggyback with what Coach Kershaw said. You know, we make sure we take one game at a time, and so when it comes time for Fayetteville State, we want to make sure that we obviously are not looking at the record of the series at all. And just because we've won all the games does not mean that it's guaranteed this year. And so we want to make sure that every game we're preparing our best, and especially this year, we feel like they got a very good team coming back, and we've got our work cut out for us this week. And so obviously with the result that we had last Saturday, we had a lot of work to do anyway, and so we've really tried to focus on making sure that we're fundamentally sound this week, and really like this rivalry in the sense of the local implications that it has. We really try to recruit the Fayetteville area very strongly, and so there's a lot of great players up in that area, and so with it being right in Fayetteville, we feel like it just adds that much more significance to us playing against them. But You know, one thing that comes to mind over the years of playing against Fayetteville State is they've always had a first-class operation from the administration, the coaching staff, and the way that the players handle themselves too. And so I've really appreciated that as we play them each year. And so it's provided for a good, clean game, and it's been a very competitive game. Even though the scores, the results actually don't indicate really what the game has been. I mean, last year we were down at halftime, and we've had 3 games that have been very, very close, 6 points, 7 points, and 10 points. And so this is, it's certainly a rivalry game, and it is alive and well, and we're looking forward to just making sure we compete our best this week.
And if you haven't noticed yet, for those in attendance, you have slips of paper in the center of your table. If you have any questions that you might want to ask any of the participants up here, we'll be by shortly to collect those and ask those towards the end of the conference. But again, if you haven't seen who's up here yet, you just heard both of the head coaches, head coach Shane Richardson, the UNCP, head coach Lawrence Kershaw from Fayetteville State. The players are actually senior cornerback LJ Stroman from the Braves, and then sophomore quarterback Derek Bryant from Fayetteville State. So at this time, we're going to open it up to media questions. My director of communications, Jenna Davison, if you raise your hand, we'll get the mic over to you so everyone can hear the question being asked. So any media questions, we'll take them now.
Coach Richardson, Jonathan Dent from the Pioneer. You're starting your career off coaching 0-1. So did your predecessor, Pete Shinnick. Has he offered any words of advice to you? Has he reached out to you or any of the other coaches among the collegiate ranks that you look up to?
Yeah, Pete's been very instrumental in making sure that we stay in touch, and he's been very encouraging. You know, I think he's wanted to make sure that he doesn't interfere too much, because I think he feels like, you know, he wants to, you know, let me kind of make sure that this is something that, you know, I put my own flavor on, and so he's been there for me, but he has not involved himself in anything, and so he's been very encouraging. He did send me a text after last week and just encouraged us as a team and as a group, and you know, made sure that, you know, he just offered some good positive comments, and he definitely is open and available anytime that I need to call on him for any advice.
Stephen Schramm, Fayetteville Observer's questions for either LJ or Derek. Obviously, both these schools recruit against each other. Were either one of you recruited by the other school?
No, sir, I wasn't. Yes, I was, but the only thing that really separated Fayetteville State was just a home base and how close they were as administration, as a staff, also as a football team. Honestly, it was amazing. Great facilities, just a great staff. Players were awesome. But honestly, like I said, it just came down to I knew some of the players, such as Larry McDonald, KJ Hunt. Some of those guys I knew already at Fayetteville State. So the adjustment was a bit easier at Fayetteville State as opposed to UNC Pembroke.
Hal Nunn from the News Journal and the Sports Blast radio show. Coach Kershaw, how you doing, first of all?
Good, how you doing?
Tight loss last week to Chowan, a couple of interceptions and some turnovers there. How do you expect to limit that against the defense that the Braves offer this weekend?
Well, the biggest thing, just like Coach Richardson said in his opening statement, we really kind of focused on us this week for the most part. Obviously, we had to get prepared for what they do defensively because they got a great scheme, they do a great job. But last week, we felt, we kind of gave that game away for the most part. Granted, you give them credit, give Chowan credit because they made the plays they needed to make. But we felt that we had a lot to do with it. I mean, we helped a lot, so we had to go back to the drawing board and look at what we was doing. And this I'm always on the guys about focusing on technique, fundamentals, all those kind of things there. So again, you got to get prepared for a scheme, but you really got to work on yourself for the most part.
Coach Richardson, again, Hal from the Sports Blast and the News Journal. What do you see as the biggest threat from Fayetteville State as far as an offensive power, and how is your defense going to contain their ability to get the ball down the field?
Sure. Well, they like to spread it out. They will use their athletes and they'll try to get us in space. And so, it's a kind of a simple concept that sometimes football coaches kind of make too complex. But when you're working with more space, you give guys a lot more room to work with, and so athletic ability can start to take over, and angles become very important. And your timing and your reads of everything that you're doing become just extremely that much more specific in the sense of making sure that you're on point with every play. And so they're gonna make sure that they present challenges to us with their athletes. And I mean, Derek, if you've seen him walk in, he's an extremely big guy, and he's able to look over probably some of our smaller guys on defense. And so he's going to be able to throw the ball well, and we fully anticipate that. And so it kind of goes back to answer your second part. We've got to make sure that we're fundamentally sound in what we do, and if we do that, I think we can match up with what they present to us. But it will be a challenge, and we've got to be ready for whatever type of scheme or situation that we face.
Coach Richardson, Caleb Berger for the Robertsonian. Your offensive line had some struggles in the game against Winston-Salem. What have you been doing, and is that something that concerns you going against Fayetteville State's defense?
Sure, yeah. It may sound redundant, but there were a couple things that we had to just clean up ourselves. We had to clean up the snap count and make sure that we were not going to beat ourselves first and foremost. And we've kind of maneuvered some personnel at that position a little bit to make sure that we're getting guys in the right positions. Sometimes coming out of camp, you don't really know where you're at, and sometimes you have a false identity as to exactly where you're at before game one. And so game one, we were able to really take the results of that and say, okay, here's where we're at now, guys. And so it gave us a great idea of where we need to get to and where we want to be. And so looking at that game and evaluating what happened on Saturday, we made sure that we put guys in the right positions to play to their strengths and to know what they're capable of doing. And really we want to focus on up front just being very simple and very sound and making sure that we're not beating ourselves.
Scott Schloffman with the Robertsonian. I'm just curious, obviously presumably you go into the season pretty excited. How do you avoid, I guess, letting a loss like what happened last week affect the team, affect the mentality, the rest of the season?
That's a great question, and that's something that we've talked about as a staff to make sure that we're guarding against. But I think, it starts with me, and, if I let the loss carry over into the next week, then that's what the assistants are going to do, and that's what the players are going to do, and it just rolls all the way downhill. And so, I had to make a decision to make sure that it wasn't going to be a central theme on Sunday to where we were going to just walk around too somber and sulking and feeling sorry for ourselves. And so we had to get right on the film and make sure that we were looking at the positives, but yet not accepting or allowing any of the mistakes to take place again. And something that we said on Monday was, don't let Winston-Salem State beat you twice. You're playing against Fayetteville State this week, but if you are feeling too negative and too disappointed about what happened last week at Winston-Salem, then they're going to show up, and then on top of that, them and Fayetteville State will beat you. And so we've got to make sure that we're just creating a positive energy and making sure that we're going in a forward direction where it does start with the coaching staff, and we've tried to do some things in meetings and at practice this week to try to liven up the energy level and making sure that we still believe in them, and we still believe that we can still have great success this year, and we just got to make sure that we're bouncing back every day this week.
Coach Kershaw, I'm interested, being that you've been involved in this is your second year to be involved in this series, do you see a different type of energy from both your staff and your players during Pembroke Week? I mean, is it a different kind of excitement for them?
Yeah, it is. And like I said, when I first got the job, that was the first thing our athletic director talked about. And a lot of times, when you got rivalry games that come up, you want them to almost be the first game of the season. To be honest with you, when they kind of fall after the first week, second, third week, you got to try to keep the guys focused because they kind of concerned with what Pembroke's doing is not preparing for or not giving full attention to the first game. So you always got to try to guard against that as a program, as a coach, because again, their family, their friends, everybody in Fayetteville, even the student government group on campus, everybody on campus is kind of gearing up for Pembroke, but we play them second. So this game is huge. Like I started out by saying, and now it's here, and everybody's excited. Everybody knows it's going to be a big game. Should be a good crowd. Hopefully the weather stays, where we need it to stay. But everybody know the importance of this game. You don't really have to try to motivate your guys or talk about the importance of it. Both sides want to win. Both of us lost last week, and neither one of us want to be 0-2, for sure. And then to add the part that is, it's a big rivalry game. Schools are not that far apart. We kind of recruit, go after the same players. So it's a huge week that you really don't have to necessarily talk about for the most part because it's already there.
Caleb with the Robertsonian again. This is for the two players. You guys both have leadership roles on your team. I mean, LJ, you're a senior captain, and Derek, obviously, you're the quarterback for the team. How have you guys gone about keeping the team focused after a loss in the first week, and what have you guys been, what's kind of the team mentality from players' perspective going into this week?
Honestly, with an opponent such as UNC Pembroke and seeing what they did last year and what type of talent they have already this year, it really wasn't that hard staying focused, knowing that it's a rivalry and I know their environment is going to be amazing. And so it really wasn't hard to stay focused. The biggest thing for us was just trying to contain our emotions and making sure we're fine where we need to be as far as fundamentals and technique aspect. But as far as staying focused, I wouldn't say it was hard at all, especially playing Pembroke.
Yeah, our team is really back. We're really back on track. I mean, we've had a good week of practice so far. Everybody's focused. As far as me, I'm playing the role as keeping everybody live in practice. I keep everybody up, not let them worry about last week, not let them worry about what happened last week. We're gonna get back on the bus and take care of business.
This one's for LJ too, Hal from the Sports Blast and the News Journal. Richmond County guy, you know the area, you know the rivalry. Do the players recognize that rivalry between Fayetteville State and UNC Pembroke?
Yes, sir. I think all the players recognize it. I mean, the atmosphere, the players, the fans, the family, close connected between both teams. It's a real good place. The rival is really good between both teams to show a good game.
What's your biggest concern about their offense?
The way that they're spread it out. Yeah, we have to guard against. Have to cover a lot of ground.
Mark Moses, Robinson's Journal. This is for Coach Richardson. You talked about some of the positives. What are some of the positives you saw in the game last week?
Well, I thought defensively, the second half, we started to come to life and actually, settle down and play how we're capable of playing defensively. And so, I think they only scored one touchdown after halftime. And so we felt like we were able to really kind of get in a little bit of a groove there after the second half, or after halftime there. Offensively, I think we've got a lot of bright spots in the sense of, it has been a new offensive system that's come into play, and so there's going to be a little transition of working out those kinks. And so our quarterback, we feel like, has great ability to be able to make some plays for us. And that was his first snaps of college reps last Saturday. And so keeping that in mind, he's going to get better and better as time goes on, and we're extremely pleased with his growth and his focus of what's taking place here. And then our skill positions, we're going to have a couple guys that we didn't have last week back in the mix. And so there's a lot of positives, and Of course, I'm sure that you recognize LJ's special teams performance, and that was extremely positive in the sense of how many yards he was able to accumulate for us in the punt return and kick return game.
Question for Coach Kershaw. Coach Kershaw, 4 turnovers in the first half, still 6-6 ball game at halftime, and you still have an opportunity to win the game in the final stretch. What does that say about your defense, and what are some of the things you want to focus on moving forward this week defensively?
Well, the defense did a phenomenal job because we all know in football, you make 5-6 turnovers in a game, it's probably going to be a rout. And being that we were still in the game and still had the opportunity to win at the end and was really leading for most of the game, like I told the guys, spoke volumes of what kind of team we had. Everybody's obviously disappointed in the loss, but you know, when you make 5-6 turnovers and it's 6-6 at the half, we made 5 turnovers in the first half alone, and it's still 6-6. That spoke volumes of our defense because they did a phenomenal job just keeping us in the game. Because again, when you put that much pressure on one side of the ball, which we did last week by turning the football over, they did a great job just standing in there, hanging on, and providing us with an opportunity to win the football game. And you know, expectation for this week is for them to have another great week. Because like I told the guys, we gotta win all 3 phases if we're gonna have an opportunity to win this football game. Last week, you know, I thought we only won one phase. That was defensively. Thought offensively and special teams wise, we had some stuff that we had to work on, and that's what we didn't do a good job last week, and that was a reason for us losing the game. So if our defense can play better than it did last week, and then offensively we can not turn the ball over and not give up long returns and a touchdown on special teams, then we feel that we have an opportunity to win this football game on Saturday.
This one's for both of the coaches. You guys both have younger quarterbacks, a sophomore in Derek Bryan and Seth Owen, obviously a freshman for UNCP. How do you guys go about getting younger quarterbacks ready for a rivalry game like this, or is it just kind of another step in the process for you guys making sure they're ready as they continue their careers?
Well, for us, Derek, he might be listed wrong, but he's actually a junior, and he played a lot last year. He played 7 football games for us, and he played a whole lot last year. So he got a lot of experience. So he's really not a young guy for the most part. Now, what's different for him is that it's his job totally. Because last year, he came in a backup role, started a couple of games, and then towards the end of the season, we was kind of going back and forth with 2 guys. And there's a difference when you are the guy now, and that's the difference for him. But he's a tough guy, mentally strong, has a lot of football knowledge. So even keel kind of guy. So he's a team captain for us also. And for us, that role is voted on. And all the guys voted him. He was kind of unanimous choice for that role for our team. So he's even keel. Being that it's a rivalry, he's not too high, too low. Obviously, I know he's dying to get to Saturday to kind of make up for what happened last week. That's been the biggest part. Just calm down, relax, forget last week. Because you threw more interceptions last week than you did all last season. But if you're a competitor, like I talked to the guys about this morning, when you're a competitor, you dying just to get back out there because you want to rectify what you felt your failures were the week before. So I know he's revving to go, but he's motivated, he's preparing well, and he's ready to go. So we expect a different performance coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, with Seth, he has a great ability to really see his mistakes and things, probably even before we tell him. And so we're trying to keep it extremely simple with him. And so to answer the question, we try not to blow things up too big for him. We want to make sure that he understands one play at a time, one technique at a time, and making sure that we're kind of keeping it small, simple for him. And once he grows and understands how the process looks, I think then that's when you kind of let your competitive nature take over, like Coach is talking about, and you start letting your instincts and some of the things that you really bring to the table with your skill set take over. And so the way we coach him is just to make sure that he understands his progression one play at a time, and then we try to make sure that we're really keeping the reins on him as far as not trying to do too much, not trying to force things and do too much and put too much on his shoulders. And so he's done a great job of just having poise for a young guy and having to grow up really quickly in that role. And so I just can continue to try to encourage him to focus one day at a time and make sure that he's focusing on the things that he needs to improve on every single day. And it's been positive, and we feel very comfortable with him.
LJ and Derek, I may regret sitting you guys beside each other after this question, but from looking at film this week, what's the one thing that impresses you guys the most about the other?
What impresses me is the speed of Fayetteville State's offense. The receivers, they move real fast. The back's big and he's fast. We really got to get to the ball and tackle well, and that's what we didn't do last week, was tackle well and get to the ball as good as we could. So I feel like if we do that, then everything will be a lot better than it was last week.
LJ, what impresses you the most about Derek when you're looking at him on film?
His poise in the pocket. Looking at film, his poise in the pocket really, it really does. You can see it. He's confident back there, and when he throws the ball, he's pretty sure it's going where it's going, and his receiver's going to come down with it.
About LJ, he's a guy that you gotta watch. Very talented, speed-wise, he's a ball hawk. So he's one of those guys that you kind of have to know where he is and be sure to read that way, because if you make a mistake, he'll make you pay for it. So that's one thing about him that you gotta be cautious of.
There's no more questions from the media. We're going to start asking some fan questions. This is for both coaches. What is each coach's favorite thing or trait, their most favorite thing? I know Coach Kershaw has already talked about Derek with a quarterback question, but what's your most favorite thing or trait about the player that you brought today?
Just his poise and his maturity. Obviously, he got great arm talent, which you got to have at quarterback. The other thing for us is decision making, because at that position you got to be a great decision maker on where to go with the football, make the right reads, all those kind of things. Obviously, everybody knows that the quarterback position is the most important position on the field, and we just feel that we got a great guy there that can get it done with his arm, but also get it done, with his mind, and that's the biggest thing for us.
My favorite thing about LJ is there's probably two things that come to mind. The first thing is just his natural athletic ability that can help him in situations to escape some things and to make up ground. That's hard to coach. I mean, he's very explosive and he's extremely quick and fast, and so that obviously couples alongside with his confidence. I think that really is what separates LJ apart on our team, is he approaches the game with just such a great level of confidence in himself, knowing that he has the ability and the tools to go out and be in position on every play and to really get himself in position to make plays. So those two things right there, which I don't know that you can coach those two things, but you can kind of help foster and just encourage those as you see them. And so those are the two things that I really like about LJ.
And Coach Richardson, while you still have the mic, obviously you surrounded yourself with being a first-year head coach with a lot of new faces. How many new faces do you have on your coaching staff this year, and sort of maybe hit a little bit on each one of them?
Oh, sure. We had to hire 3 full-time coaches on offense, and so our offensive coordinator, Johnny Cox, he also coaches the quarterbacks. He and I have actually known each other for about 12 years, and was completely comfortable with Johnny coming in and being able to take over our offense and be a leader on that side, at that side of the ball. and he really brings a great dynamic in not only understanding offense, but really understanding young people and young men and really wanting to invest in them. And so he shared a lot of the same values that we have here as our program. And so I thought he would have been a great fit for being the coordinator of really that side of the ball. We hired also Billy Lindquist, who is our wide receivers coach. He came to us from Adams State. He has a lot of Division II experience and really, brings a good knowledge of the wide receiver position, but also brings a good dynamic with relating to the kids and does a lot of very good administrative type roles for us, and has been very instrumental in just helping us to kind of move through the transition time as we hired him. And then Louis Rodriguez is our offensive line coach. He was actually with the Boise State program last year, and really a high energy guy that brings a lot of enthusiasm, very competitive, and has done a great job of just getting our O-line really gritty and brings a nice, tough affect to them. And so those three guys have been the new faces of the full-time guys, and they fit in very well. One of the things I wanted to make sure of was that they were consistent with our values and the things that we believe in with our vision of where we want to be at with our program, and they fit in well with that.
This question for the players. You guys walking around campus and having experience with the general student body throughout this week. What have you heard, or what do you think this game means to the students on your campus as well as the players?
I've heard that it meant a lot. People have been running up on me asking for tickets. So I was like, I think the school's giving out tickets to students. I really don't know much about it. I was ready to go to practice.
Pretty much had the same experience. All I'm hearing is that we're getting buses together and it's all these packages put together for the students to come out and support us. So they're definitely revved up, ready to go.
And this question is going to be for the coaches. It may just be for one coach. The fan asks, can this game be scheduled on Thursday night in the future?
If it's the first game of the season, yes. But I hate Thursday night games in the middle of the season. I swear. But the first game of the season, that'd be wonderful to open up the college football season. That would be nice.
Okay, that's all the questions we have. I just want to make everyone aware that while you've been listening to this press conference, dessert has been placed at the back. So don't trip over everybody getting back there, but there's dessert available. Also at this time, we have a program. If you check underneath your seat, there is a manila envelope taped to the bottom of one of these chairs. If you have that, you might want to take it out from under your chair, take the program out, and the participants on stage will give you autographs. But thank you everyone for coming out today, and we'll see you on Saturday.